All right, everybody, this is the city that we got our start in. Here's what you're going to see. Warren, can you take out the volume for this video?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't take that out yet. So, anyway, here is Olympia. It's a beautiful place where you have boat home neighborhoods. You have interesting spots like the Olympia Alano Club. There's always a crowd there smoking cigarettes, telling interesting stories. This is our town. I would sum it up as government, art, and homelessness. Warren?
Yeah, and right here you're looking at downtown exactly. This is kind of the alleyways you see right through the 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue area.
This is a local radio station, and that's one of the charms of Olympia that you won't see in a place like Seattle as much. You see local independent media spots, local independent this, local independent that. Chains are very far and few between. And when you have a situation like that, you see all this beautiful street art. Um, Olympia, it's dirty, it doesn't smell that great, but there are a lot of positives.
Yeah, Matthew, it feels like its own place. Like Tacoma feels kind of like Seattle, but Olympia is its own thing. It's very, very separate and very on its own.
I will say though that since I've left, it's been about 4 years or so since I was working in Olympia. A lot of these buildings that we see, they kind of are empty. There's a lot of vacancies right now, and that wasn't true in 2017. And I'm kind of, I'm sad to see that. This is Fourth Avenue right here. Warren, what do you think of Fourth Avenue?
4th Avenue has its good and its bad. I mean, as you head toward the water, it's pretty good, but as you go down this street right here, it's not so good as you head down that way towards more of the artesian well area. And that's where some of the issues start to become more prevalent.
Normally, though, this area was crowded with homeless people, but now they've been pushed off. They've been given housing because of coronavirus and things like that. So that's kind of been pushed to the side. Normally, homeless people everywhere, though. I want to take a chance to point out Old School Pizzeria. I think I'll flash by it one more time if I'm not mistaken. But Old School Pizzeria, right there, that red building, the best pizza downtown. Very interesting ambiance. Again, kind of dirty, but very artsy. Here's Fourth Avenue again.
And you got to notice all these really cool independent shops as well. I mean, that's kind of the charm of Olympia right here. There's so many weird things that you just don't find anywhere else.
Yeah, it's just strange. Portlandia, one of their main quotes is like Portland is where old people or young people go to retire. That's even more true in Olympia. For very little wages, you get yourself a roommate. You can work part time at a coffee shop or part time at a weird anything independent, and you can have a decent life if you have a roommate, 2-bedroom apartment.
And if you want to feel like part of the community, I mean, it's a great place to be because you can be downtown and actually afford to be there. And I mean, now it's kind of changing a bit, but for the most part, you can still afford to be there.
This is the Pet Works. Again, another local business. Somebody's heart, somebody's soul, somebody's dreams went into this business. And you're going to see this a lot in Olympia. Windows busted open. They're graffitied all over the place. And the thing I want to, question is, what are they doing? Look at this. These boarded up businesses. These are independent businesses. Who are these anarchists fighting? These are where the anarchists go to get coffee. It's not going to be Starbucks. You're not going to be as welcome there. That's very sad to see, and that's all over Olympia.
And that's towards the city hall there, Matthew. So I think a lot of people come to the city hall to kind of protest various things. But on that street right there in particular, that's kind of the mecca of people, in the street, going down the street, having protests on a nightly basis sometimes.
And when you tear down those businesses, who do these protesters, these rioters, who do they think is going to take their place? It's going to be a Starbucks. It's going to be a chain that can afford to step in when these independent businesses who have exhausted all of their funds trying to stay alive, they get their windows busted in one too many times, they're going to go out of business. See ya. I'll sell my property to this chain or that chain.
Yeah. And right here is kind of an interesting part of Olympia. That used to be a nightclub when we first started working in Olympia. And now, obviously, that building's completely boarded up. But maybe one day it'll be a club again or a restaurant, something like that.
We have a number of good theaters, by the way. That was the Capitol Theater. We've got a number of interesting places to check out artsy fartsy stuff. Because Olympia is a capital, you're going to get a lot of funding for artists and traveling artists coming in, performing in Olympia, which I enjoy.
I'm always shocked, Matthew, by how big the downtown area actually is. I mean, you think it's kind of a small town, but it's really not. It's pretty big, actually.
It's big, it's very walkable. You could walk from one end to the other and there's plenty to see. You can take 6 hours browsing shops. You're going to get a metropolitan feel in downtown Olympia. The problem is safety right now. The problem is a lot of vacancies in the downtown area, which is sad. Again, here's our, local TV station, TVW. I think it was run by Denny Heck. In this video, at this point, we're going to move forward towards the state capitol, which is always a nice walk, Warren.
Yeah, and there's the hotel that was famous in the news for having that big issue that happened there with that housing group, kind of taking it over. Since that time, obviously, it's back to being a regular hotel, but kind of makes you wonder. I mean, it's right there on the main drag, right through town where the Capitol is.
Here we have Sylvester Park, another homeless area. It's a real hotbed. We're going to move on to another hotbed. People are living in these conditions. People who are struggling with mental illness and drug addiction are living, in tunnels like this. They're living in Sylvester Park, trying to get sleep during the day so they don't get robbed at night. We're going to show you a couple of locations coming up here where homeless people are just struggling. And Warren, I don't know what's going on. A lot of them got checked into housing. Why are these homeless people still outside?
Well, they say that they've added a lot more social housing programs here, Matthew, so they do have a lot more housing available for people who want to seek that out. Unfortunately, as you know, a lot of people don't want to take that option and want to stay, more independent on the street, and that's where you start to see some of these issues kind of continue to just escalate and escalate as they go. We'll see later more of like a camp that's located more towards the water, where they have more tiny housing that's starting to be built.
So this is a cursed well, the artesian well. It used to be the source of water for Olympia beer, and now it's just an open-sourced tap. Anybody can go and drink from it. It's cursed. If you drink from this well, you are forever destined to, at some point, come back to Olympia. You cannot leave Olympia permanently. I have tasted the water, and my, is it quenching.
I'm a sucker for good water, Matthew. I've never tried that well in particular, but I am curious. I don't want to curse myself by any means, but I am curious.
Yeah, who wants to get stuck in Olympia? Not me. I don't, if anybody's going to break the curse, it's going to be me. We move on now to the state capitol. Beautiful place. It's a place where I have taken a picture with Jay Inslee as a member of the media. His suit on a 90-degree day was so starched you could walk on it. And that made me realize that day I would never be a politician. I couldn't live like that, like a lizard.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to go to a park, I mean, this is a fantastic place to go. Obviously, it's kind of shut down halfway right now, but it's still a very, very pretty place to visit. The lawn is just incredible. I mean, they maintain this so impeccably well, and the buildings are so historic as well. Very, very, very neat place to visit.
And at this time, everything was fenced off because there was supposedly a threat against the Capitol. There were going to be some terrorist attacks. Warren, explain what's going on right here.
Well, this is the old bus station for the Greyhound buses that would come through. And as you can see, it's all fenced off and it has this corridor that goes through it. So they'd board passengers in there. But unfortunately, that had become a homeless spot, it looks like, at some point. But I think they had at some point cleared that out. So no one's there right now.
Olympia, if you work there long enough, you'll notice too that there's a real difference in the attitude of homeless people, quite obviously, in the summer and springtime versus the colder months. And obviously, that's, when you're getting rained on, you're cold all the time, you're going to be angry, you're going to be a little more bitter. This is a homeless dude who his daughter is under that blanket and he was playing with her. The daughter was comfortable around him, so we didn't call the cops, but this dude was clearly mentally ill. He was high on something. He's playing with his daughter under that blanket. She used the restroom on herself. I don't want to embarrass her, but I mean, there are very sad things in Olympia. There are people who clearly can't take care of themselves, but they get lost, and it's hard to see. It's hard to walk past every day, but that's just a reality of being in this town.
Yeah, and I have to give them credit. I mean, at least they're trying to better their lives by being in a center because that building is Billy Frank Jr. Place, where there's more help and resources available, which is a great thing right there. But it's hard to see. I mean, if you're sensitive, it's really hard to walk through there and just appreciate what's going on because it pulls your heartstrings a bit.
And that wide open space we just saw is all going to be like a small housing neighborhood. So at least 300, 400 yards. Right here, people are living in these cars. People are living in these areas. That's a stove right there or something.
And this is right by a housing facility for the elderly, the Shag housing building downtown. And I mean that's got to be hard to walk out of your building as an elderly person trying to get your exercise, trying to get outside, and not feel as comfortable being outside in a place like that. But hopefully that will eventually start to get a little bit better as time goes by.
Yeah, I agree. But, that's our town in a nutshell. This is me doing a sexy fucking kick. That's Warren right there. And that's Olympia. We appreciate you stopping by. Always check out westcoastradiopodcast.com.
Yes, sir.